Hi, this is the SMG Blacklist podcast, hosted by the Southgate Media Group. You can check out the website at southgatemediagroup.com. I'm your host, Jack Wengroski, and with me is...
Melissa Maxey.
We're going to look at the 31 unanswered questions from Seriable.com while the show is in hiatus for the Olympics. So, Melissa, where did you find the Seriable.com?
Well, Seriable is pretty... they're on Twitter a lot, so I see them posting all sorts of things about different shows. And when we started the Blacklist podcast with our Twitter, the Blacklist pod, I noticed that they were posting stuff about it. So I just started scrolling through what they had, and I found this list, and I was like, this is perfect, because I just started the series, and I wanted a little bit more in-depth answers and questions that I had, so this was perfect because they had already laid it out for us.
Yeah, they've got it's just a really an all-encompassing list of a lot of the details, facts, and it seems like they've done a lot of digging in the show. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to kind of go down the list today and see what's going on.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, number 1 on the Blacklist podcast Blacklist. Why does Reddington need Elizabeth Keene exactly?
Seriable says, he says that he chose her because of her father. What specifically does he want from her? What can Lizzie give him that another fresh-faced FBI profiler can't? Sub 2.
Is that really... I think that's one of the things that they're starting to answer, because I think we really have the feeling that Red is Lizzie's father. Of course, that's question number 3, and I don't mean to jump, but what he says, because he doesn't want to let any information out of the bag, but that seems to be his motive.
Yeah, that's what I think too, that it's because she's his daughter.
It's also deeper than that, because he really does have an agenda with this list. Yeah,
because he's... As we're going through the list, he's systematically eliminating everybody.
Yeah. So do you think that he needs Elizabeth for anything else other than the fact, that she'll be good for grabbing the people he wants on his list, or just because he wants to garner a relationship with her?
I think he wants a relationship with her.
Yeah.
Because, there were certain instances, and, one episode in particular after her adopted father dies and they're sitting on the swing set.
Right. I agree.
Little poignant moments like that.
And otherwise, what else is the motive? As far as what we know right now, I think that's the answer to that. But we may find out differently. All right.
That's true.
Number 2, what is Red's end game? I don't think they're going to answer that question for quite a while.
No, I don't think so either. That would just ruin everything.
Right. They seem to be... Mr. Fitch is definitely nervous about the list, and they don't know where he's going with it, so how are we supposed to?
Yeah.
So I think, I can't even guess right now that he has an end game, obviously, with this, and it is personal, but... other than the search for the mole, and after he got his butt kicked, and he got a little bit of revenge, the rest of the motives are kind of really out there.
Yeah, that's true. And the personal part, that's what I'm interested in. That's the piece that's the golden, puzzle piece. What's the personal aspect of it?
Yeah, I think we're going to find out a lot more details of his relationship with Lizzie before we ever find out what the really personal reasons are.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's kind of a quickie. What about number 3?
Yeah,
it's just so far reaching. It kind of leaves us like
hanging.
It does. That may be like the series finale, is we'll find out finally why.
Yeah, that's true.
So
number 3 is Red Lizzie's father.
Yeah,
Well, and we've talked about this before, because we believe that he's actually her father. When she asked him when he was on the phone, the tell was he held his breath before he answered.
Oh yeah, and why would he have that why would he have that scene with the adopted father? There wouldn't be any other motivation.
No.
Even if, the real father was maybe a close friend of his.
Well, yeah. That's always a possibility.
It is, but that really wouldn't make sense. The only reason for him to kill the dying father, I think, would be he was threatening to tell that he wasn't the father.
Well, yeah, that's what was implied, that he was going to tell Lizzie. Well, except she knew she was adopted, right?
No, well,
I think she does.
I think she knows she's adopted, but she doesn't know
that he knew her father.
Right. And
she thinks that, does she think that her father's dead? Do we even know any of that?
That's a good question. We may have to kind of go back and kind of listen to that. But, as far as anything goes, she really, I don't think she's got a memory much before the fire. So unless her memory comes back, she might think that her dad is her birth father. Or even if it is, she doesn't know what kind of relationship that Red, had with her and her adopted father.
Yeah, that may be true. Yeah, I can see that.
So I think it's really been hinted to. I guess we could tentatively answer that one with a big yes.
Okay.
Question mark.
Okay, so the next one is the truth about Red's family.
So that's a big unanswered question because we get more and more little snippets of Lizzie's memory as a child.
Yes.
And they are barely going to kind of dribble those into us.
Yeah, and they've just barely, the only things that we've seen are some quickie little flashbacks of,
Yeah.
And even with Red's memory, when he was in the house and right before he, put the house on fire, right. He had little memories of a girl running through the yard and, and looking at the wall where the marks of, how tall she was as she aged.
Yeah. But if there was a big giant fire in her house, would this have been the house?
Yeah.
That's
another thing. They haven't, that's another question we have, the link, like what's the connection between?
Right. So that may be a whole other question in itself.
Yeah.
Is that the same house that Lizzie grew up in and had the fire and repaired it?
Yeah.
Red has been looking for this other girl, so maybe could that be the daughter? It's another question, but that's one we're not going to find out, I think, for quite a while. The answer's still coming.
Yeah. For hopefully many more seasons.
I really think my quick answer is Red had to abandon his family to protect them, kind of do what he needed to do to ensure anonymity and no family ties so that they wouldn't get attacked again. They kind of go into the woodwork. I'm assuming that the mother had died and all that was left was Lizzie.
That's another question. We don't even know what happened to her mother, do we?
We don't.
They may bring her back in, at the end of season 2.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe that was her stepdad's or adopted father's. Maybe she was the birth mother, and we're gonna find out some totally different twist to the story.
Yeah, they can twist it so many different ways.
So that brings us to the next little detail about Lizzie's scar.
The intrepid profiler has a scar on her right hand running down her wrist. It's later revealed that Lizzie was in a fire when she was a girl. Upon seeing her old stuffed rabbit that was scorched by the fire, she looks at her scar, possibly suggesting that she received the scar in the fire. Is this the case? If not, how did she get the scar?
Yeah, that's a good question. And let's go ahead and link it up with number 6, because these are both, I think, interrelated. What's the deal with the Y-shaped pattern on Tom's spy box resembling Lizzie's scar? Is there a connection between the pattern and Lizzie's scar, or is it just a coincidence?
Yeah, that is a weird little coincidence. Looking at the box with the pattern on it and her wrist, It's pretty close.
It is. And they show at Serial.com, they show the pictures right next to each other. It's worth looking. It almost makes you wonder if somebody like came up with the scar and said, "Oh, let's do a symbol based on a lily."
Yeah. And does the symbol look like a bunny rabbit? Because to me, it looks like a bunny rabbit.
I don't know. I think we're about to see some Rorschach tests for you.
Maybe. I'd be good at those.
some deep-seated bunny fears. I had a little rabbit when I was little, and Mom decided to put the little rabbit outside, and the rabbit had really dark black fur. And she thought, oh, this will be good. He can get outside and get a little sun and kind of sitting in the cage. Well, there's a lot of sun and black rabbit.
This is a sad story. I don't know if I want to know the end of this.
Well, let's just say he lived, but he did have to get a quick water bath to
cool him off.
To cool him off.
Oh, the poor thing.
Yeah. Mom learned a good lesson there. Is don't stick your rabbit out without the indoor rabbit outside suddenly for a suntan.
He needs some shades and an umbrella.
So back to the scar. Okay. Back to the rabbit-shaped scar. That I almost forgot how he got there. And yeah, I mean, probably had some sort of metal symbol or for that in the fire. I can't imagine that. Yeah, it almost looks like it might be a map location or a peninsula. I see the kind of the dots around. And almost, yeah.
It's gonna mean something. We're gonna find out hopefully later what the symbol means. I'm every episode I'm looking for a symbol now. I'm like, looking in the background, looking on the paperwork, seeing if there's some letterhead with symbols on it or anything like that.
And, I knew about the scar and I knew about the box, but up until looking at Serial, I didn't really make the connection how close that they do look.
Yeah, and, it's probably, maybe there isn't a connection and we're just, making it up, but it's something to think about at least.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you have a bunch of people that kind of get too into the show, but it's a pretty strong little detail.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think we're just kind of reading anything into this. I think there's something there.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't have showed us the symbol and her wrist, I don't know. They don't show us anything for nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is number 7. Who killed Victor at Angel Station?
Let's see. Liz traces Tom's gun to a top-secret file marked Angel Station, June 23rd, 2012. When she accidentally allows him to see the date, Tom reminds her this was when they spent the weekend in Boston for his job interview, in quotes. However, the unredacted case file suggests that during this time, Tom killed Russian defector Viktor Forkin. Tom denies everything, of course. Corporate terrorist Gina Zanakatos admits to being hired to kill Victor because her employer didn't want him spilling secrets that would harm his business on the Russian border. Her employer is Reddington? But wait, Red denies everything, so what actually happened? Who actually killed Victor? And at whose behest?
Well,
we
already think that Tom is already out, doing missions every weekend, it seems like.
Of course, but in this one in particular, our Gina at the end admits that she was actually the one that killed him.
Yeah.
But does that actually mean that, does that actually clear Tom of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 other things?
Maybe.
Yeah. It may be that kind of red herring to say, oh, he didn't do this. Oh, yeah, but he certainly did a bunch of other things.
Yeah, that's true.
And of course, if
I don't know about Tom.
If Xanatakos says, "Oh, Red, Red didn't do this," is she could just be covering for Red.
That's true. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that.
Right.
It seems like it's one of those parts of the story that's not really, like, it doesn't mean anything yet, or it's inconsequential, or like I don't know, like it's supposed to lead you somewhere that maybe it's, a dead end, or I don't know.
And of course, that takes us right to number 8, Angel Station, Part 2. Does Tom have ulterior reasons for wanting to take Liz back to Angel Station? They decide to take that little refresher trip.
Yeah.
Because, of course, she had brought it up. I don't think he right away made the connection, but maybe he thought, I could meet one of my contacts. We could do a little Part 2.
Yeah, maybe.
I
don't know. Like I said, it's not something that really, when I was watching, it was something that didn't really stick with me. It didn't seem like it was deep enough for me to pay attention to.
Right.
And that I could, that could totally bite me later, because it'll be like, oh, that was a huge thing that you should have paid attention to.
Yeah. If it sounds like a duck and walks like a duck, I'm seeing Tom as like some secret spy, although I don't have that kind of confidence. He just seems kind of weaselly to me. There's something I don't like about Tom.
Yeah.
I can't
put my finger on it, though. Can you put your finger on it? Exactly?
I can't,
He's slippery.
He is slippery. He doesn't have that texture to me of like a 007. He really seems... No, he really seems like, kind of like, not dastardly. What's the guy from Dudley Do-Right? One of the bad... There's just... He's maybe not a full-on bad guy, but maybe he's a good guy that kind of has to do bad things. But he's in the background. He's in the background doing something.
The only thing that, if he wasn't married to Lizzie, that's the one thing he has right now, is he's married to her. Yeah. Everything else just seems like I can't, it's like I said, I can't put my finger on it. Was he set up? Is he actually doing that? I can't really narrow it to, one specific
thing. And
then the way he acts.
It's always a little strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's always kind of got that little grin or that kind of look like, I don't know. But I think he does have ulterior reasons. We just don't know what they are yet.
Yeah. Hopefully that'll be some of the unanswered questions will get answered.
Yeah, so I think we've answered like maybe 2 out of the 8 so far.
Yeah.
The rest are going to be way down the line. So who is next? Number 9. Who is the farmer? If it wasn't the thing about the farmer, I would say
that's pretty close.
It's pretty close. I would say Stanley really seems more like a farmer. I think Red was never a farmer.
No.
And, can't really see that happening. And I think Red was already in the game. And so to me, that analogy really is more about Stanley, because
yes.
When he took that shirt off, that's definitely Farmer Joe there. And what do you think? Did that kind of pull you in that direction, or?
Yeah, it did.
So, yeah, if you haven't seen that episode, for our listeners, you kind of have to check that one out, because the stew maker is just kind of nasty, and he's really, I think he's searching for redemption for his family. He basically just makes stew out of his victims, but yeah, it's like there's definitely a big backstory to the stew maker, and I really think that was part of his story, not Red's.
Yeah. Okay, so
maybe not definitive answer, but I think that's a good answer.
Yeah, I think it's a good answer too. Okay, so the next one is, who is the mysterious young woman in the photo?
So let's get the first part of that. The young woman that he takes the picture of, and of course, I think that's the same one that he takes from the next list in a couple episodes down the line.
Off the computer.
off the computer, and I think that was the same girl, wasn't it?
I think so too. And he's looking for her.
Yeah, that either that is a missing link or another sibling, which I'm thinking it's another daughter, but wouldn't she remember having a sister?
Yeah, you'd think so. And I didn't remember when Red was in his house if there were more than one child lying on the wall. Did you?
I didn't, but I don't think they've given us that information. Personally, I think it's going to be a sister, or I really think it's going to be a sister. Some part of...
I'm not sure.
Oh, go ahead.
I never thought about that. When he was taking those photos, I didn't think that it was like another sibling. I didn't think it was a means to an end, like he's looking for her because he's trying to get to someone else.
Now, did she resemble...
I never thought of it as like a family connection.
Now, did that girl in the picture...
resemble Lucy Brooks?
Yeah, now, isn't Lucy Brooks the one that's kind of going after Tom?
Yes.
And so, maybe she's on the list, and Red's trying to kind of crack that part of the case, and he's kind of just really going after another agent.
Yeah, I think so.
And this girl...
and who she's working for.
Yeah.
Because she's working for someone, so...
And we know she has a tragic past. We're going to...
well, maybe we'll go down further, because I think there's a little bit more that may answer some of those questions.
Okay. All right, well, number 11 is Red's adversary.
Red's assistant, Newton Phillips, questions why Red wasted access to classified networks given to him by the NSA agent on helping Liz, when he could have instead used it to make the world tremble and finally find their adversary interesting. Who is Red's mysterious adversary, and why has Red seemingly yet to identify them? Well, so who is Red's adversary?
Boy, that's a good question. Is it...
is that who he's looking for through Lucy Brooks? That's his adversary? Is that who he's... Or, it doesn't seem like...
I don't think it's Lucy, but either Lucy works for him...
Well, yeah, she works for him.
Or is it Mr. Fitch?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, boy, that's a good question. What does he consider... I guess he's got Mr. Fitch at bay with some sort of kind of information. So that leads me to think that the adversary is somebody that we haven't really seen or met yet.
Yeah.
And...
Mr. Fitch is... Well, the information Red has must be from a job Red did for him.
Yeah. And I don't think the way the question's worded, say... Instead of use make the world tremble and finally find their adversary, I don't think Red knows who his adversary is exactly.
Well, if he did, he would have found him already.
Right. Yeah, we only know that cartel is keeping a short leash on him, and Red has just enough freedom based on some sort of information, and I guess they both have kind of vested interest in kind of staying away from each other.
Right.
So I think it's going to be somebody that Red's really chasing after.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, number 12. That brings us to number 12. Who is Tom supposedly working for? We thought the apple-eating man didn't we think he was working for Red, and it turned out he wasn't?
Yeah, we did think that, because he was across the street spying on Tom and Liz. And Liz, is a step behind him.
Yeah, it just... I think we've really got a double blind on there. We're going to find... I think they're going to kind of twist and turn that one on us. It's going to be a while for an answer, but, is he a double agent for the United States or against the United States?
Yeah. Well, they can go any way with that.
Boy, yeah, that's kind of a broad one.
Okay, so number 13 is what happened in Kuwait?
So what unfortunate incident in Walter Cooper happened in Kuwait that Red threatens to reveal? Now, I do remember them putting up the picture, and we've got one of the foreign agents. We've got a picture of him, and I'm really at a loss of, once they mention that, Boy, that's
That's kind of broad too. I'm not sure. Jeez.
Yeah, that's a very kind of inside question. It was something that they almost kind of did under their breath, but
well, it's like they're giving us these little breadcrumbs for stories that they can spin off of later.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a whole this could be a whole show in itself.
Yeah.
All right, so let's skip to number 14 then. The red pill or the Tom pill? A little, I want to say neither.
I want to say neither, too, because they both have their own agenda.
Right. You can't tell me that Tom isn't doing something.
Yeah, it's too weird for him not to be doing something.
Yeah, maybe Red didn't set him up, but it sure seems like, Red is kind of chasing after Tom a little bit. He sits down for the little chat after Tom went to see Lizzie's adopted father, and Red kind of sits and kind of wants to feel him out a little bit and kind of throw a little mental muscle, although I don't think Tom ever realized what was happening.
No, that's why it's so weird, because if he was an agent, you'd think that unless they're just playing it up, making us believe that he's not smart enough or he can't figure it out. I don't know. That's why it's so weird, because, he should be smarter than he's being played.
He walked
is he playing like he's stupid? I don't know.
Well, he got tortured. He really should have known if there was something up. And when they were torturing Tom, and if Tom is really trying to play Lizzie, he's the one that's really kind of getting disappointed a lot. And but boy, I can't just imagine that a TV show would set up this much in the scenario, and at the very end go, oh, it's just all coincidental.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't trust Tom, but I don't know that I trust Red anyway. Red is going to tell us whatever Red wants to say to get what he wants.
Yeah, and he always gets what he wants.
So what about number 15, the smoking gun? If Gina killed Victor as she claims, how did the gun that apparently killed Victor get into the box full of Tom-based mythology porn? I like the written visual there.
Yeah.
That really puts us all into a little box. It's like,
if Red planted it there, as Liz comes to believe, how did he get a hold of it in the first place?
So that somebody, even if it's not Red, then it has to be somebody is setting Tom up. Because if Tom is a double agent, I think we both agree Tom's not the smartest double agent in the book.
Yeah.
And
I'm having a little Inspector Gadget flashback.
Yeah.
Penny's the smart girl and the uncle and all the. I don't know, Tom.
I can't imagine that he's that dysfunctional to leave so many clues about. Maybe the box hidden under the plank. That is a long shot. You would think, oh, nobody will see that there, but. Too much like the gun and...
They did it in Revenge.
Yeah.
They did it in the show Revenge. She had that box from her father that she hid, and it had a symbol on it too. So...
I just don't think he would have kept the murder weapon. So, I don't know. For me, I think it's a plant.
You don't think so?
I think it's a plant. I think it's a plant, but I don't know if it's Red. So the question is, do you believe it's a plant, and do you think it was Red or not?
It seems... I don't know. It seems too easy to find.
Now,
so that in itself makes me think it's a plant, but, that doesn't mean that he isn't what we think that he's an agent. Maybe it was a plant, but that doesn't mean it changes how I feel about him.
Well, put yourself in that place. Would you have put all those details from your missions in one little box all in one place?
No.
No. So there's our answer for number 15. All right, so number 6.
Little Sherlock logic.
Yeah. Don't forget the Baker Street podcast where we talk about Sherlock Holmes. Also on the Southgate Media Group. That's my shameless plug. All right. So, sorry about the podcast
Okay,
commercial
so the next
there.
one is Burn the World Down. Burn the World Down. Red tells Liz that he understands Frederick Barnes because he was willing to burn the world down for someone he loves. Liz thinks he's talking about her, but Red says she's being presumptuous. Later see Red burn down his old family home after briefly reminiscing about his daughter. Question is, who's driving Red's motivation, Liz or his daughter, assuming they're not one and the same?
Well, for me, I'm going to assume that they're one and the same, and I could be wrong. That's what plot twists are for. They really want to reel us in on this one, so I'm going down that path. And of course, when Liz thinks he's talking about her, and his job is to keep her at arm's length, because if people find out that she is his daughter, there'll be hundreds of people on his...
She'll be on the hit list.
Oh, yeah, instantly. I mean, even if it's not for 100, at least 50 massive
And
criminals.
I'm not sure he has enough resources to protect her.
No, and that's why even if it does wind up that she's his daughter, it really can't come out in the open. It'll be like if he finally tells her, he's like, you know what, we have to sever all ties because something happens to me, it's going to happen to her.
Yeah, and he doesn't. I mean, we've seen in the episodes how much he's willing to protect her. So
number 17, 3 years ? At his old family home, the height marker for Red's daughter appears to stop at 3 years, possibly making her 26 years old today if we factor in 1990 as the time he apparently abandoned her. Boy, they really got in-depth on the math on this one, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
What happened to Red's daughter from the age of 3? Was this the last time Red saw her? Would this rule Liz out as being Red's daughter, given that the numbers Red was giving in Wu Jing match Megan Boone's birthday, which is April 29th, 1983, making Liz 30 years old if she's the same age as her portrayer? And how does Lucy Brooks factor into this equation? So that's the thing. The math for Liz to be his daughter, the math doesn't work.
Well,
do you think they're going to jump
that? I don't know. I mean, it's possible. It's possible that they messed up the math, or it's possible that that's just something that rules her out. I don't know. I mean, they could take it either way.
Yeah, I guess that's the answer. We'll find the answer to that. I bet that nobody... I will bet that nobody did the math, but I guess that's only to confirm my belief that Liz is the daughter. But that totally disproves it. And so, that would really take her out of the equation, and of course, leaves us,
So does that mean Lucy Brooks is his daughter? Well, are they implying? Is that what they're implying? Because I don't know. I don't think I believe that. I don't know.
Well, she seems young enough, but it's hard to say.
Yeah.
We really haven't been Megan's birthday, which is Liz. So we've been given... Yeah, see, that's the thing is, I think it really takes us away from Liz. But I don't know where we take that. So...
Yeah, so why does he... So then it's leads you back to the question at the beginning, why does he need her?
Yeah.
Why has he been following her? Why does he know this information about her? That's why it throws you off, because... is he doing it because she's his daughter, or is he doing it because she has information from her childhood that he needs? I don't know.
Yeah, there's either a crazy parallel, or she's got to be the daughter, or, like I said, there's that crazy parallel to it. So, next is number 19. What did Sam want to tell Lizzie?
Okay. Did we miss 18?
No. Oh, yeah, we did. Let's go back to 18. We'll see. 18, trying to forget. Red buys and then blows up the house where he raised his family because he spends every day trying to forget what happened here. No doubt this is tied to the mystery surrounding his wife and perhaps especially his daughter. Question is, what specifically happened in that house and what memories does he want to forget?
Well, if we think that there was a fire in the house, if Liz was in the house as his daughter and they were attacked in some way, and because of that he had to leave, then that would answer that question.
It would. I really think that the rest of the family died and she was the only survivor. And if Red kind of goes out of the picture, then we know the daughter survives, and whoever took the hit out on his family thinks the contract is done.
Yeah, okay.
So
that makes sense.
So does that take us to number 19?
Yes.
Right.
What did Sam want to tell Lizzie? Lizzie's adopted father wanted to tell her the truth before he died of cancer. What did he want to tell her? Which we talked about earlier, that we think that he wanted to tell her that he knew who her father was.
Or that he's not, or that, does she know that he's the adopted father?
Yeah.
Did she think that he's her birth father? Yeah. So that's really part of let's call that part of the earlier question.
Yeah.
So, number 20, why didn't Red want Sam to tell Lizzie the truth? To me, I think that just protects Lizzie.
Yeah. Yeah, they all tie together, so I just thought, when I was watching the episode at the end, like I said, I mentioned the swing set before, and it's, where she's sitting there telling Red about her father, so I thought that was, even though, he wasn't, she's still, and I think that she knows she's adopted. That's why she wants to adopt.
Right.
But I think that, the connection that she had with him was something, it just seemed like Red wanted that connection. He wants that connection. He wants a connection with his daughter like that.
Right, and I don't think he wanted for her to kind of get away from that, look, that was her father, she will, he'll die, and she will never know otherwise.
Right.
I just think it's for Lizzie's protection.
Yeah.
So, what's the deal with the scar on Sam's hand? And is this the same scar on Lizzie's hand and Tom's box, or the result of his cancer? Now, I'm looking at the picture, and I really don't see enough detail. To me, it just looks like IV bruises.
Yeah, that's what I think, too.
Yeah. We may find out. We may find out different, but I'm not really seeing.
I'm not seeing anything with that.
No. So
the next one is, who is Lucy Brooks? Red enters the Wuxing numbers into the Violent Criminals Apprehension Program, which coughs up details on a 30-year-old woman named Lucy Brooks, who later appears to target Tom under the alias Jolene. Is Lucy/Jolene Red's daughter, who was supposedly abandoned in 1990? Why is she in the system? And what does Red want with her? And we were talking about that just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of an extension of that one. But here's the thing: I think when they did the math, isn't the daughter supposed to be 26 now? And this girl's already age 30, and so I'm starting to think that there's some math problems here. And I think they just read way too much into the 3-foot thing, and
yeah, maybe a little bit more in depth than the actual writers were intending.
But I guess that confirms our opinion that Lucy Brooks is the one that's going after Tom. I guess that's a question I have, and that seems to confirm.
Yeah.
So to me, does that looks like Red is targeting Lucy Brooks because Lucy is part of some criminal activity. So we were talking about Lucy Brooks. It's definitely
we think that she's working with an organization Red's after.
Right. So that would really kind of confirm maybe that she's a target and not a family member. But if we're looking at strictly the math, it couldn't really be Lucy Brooks couldn't really be part of the family thing. Although, just like Sleepy Hollow, where the sisters kind of take different paths, this could kind of be that same theme.
Oh, yeah.
one sister goes to the FBI, the other sister kind of goes into...
The other sister goes to a life of crime.
Life of crime. On to number 23, The Fire. Liz goes through her adopted father's belongings and discovers a stuffed bunny rabbit with scorch marks on it. This triggers haunting memories of a fire from her childhood, which brings her to tears. What's the significance of this event? Who started the fire? Was Liz rescued from the fire? And is this how she got the hand scar?
Well, if her adopted father saved her from the fire, that could be how he got his hand scar.
Well, that could be. You know, if there is... I really think that if that was Red's house, I think Red came home, was able to rescue her and her alone. I don't think there's a connection between her and the fire and the adopted father, other than the fact that he had just some of her belongings. But that is...
I don't know. I think that there's a huge connection. I've always thought that maybe, like I said, that he was like maybe Red and him know each other, obviously, but maybe he was working for Red or I don't know, maybe they're best friends from high school, who knows, but maybe he couldn't get to his daughter and he sent him there to get her, and
right.
And then he said, well, take her underground or, take care of her or whatever. I mean, I've always kind of thought that, but I mean, that might not be the case, but.
So that really is asking us the question, is there more to Red and the father's relationship than meets the eye?
Yeah, they seemed really close.
Yeah.
Like when he was in the hospital and Red was visiting him, it seemed that they had a closer relationship then.
So let's go to the number 24, The Secret. Mr. Fitch tells Red, "We know what you have, Red, and we know what will happen to you if you turn up dead." We found out...
It could be anything.
Well, I think the big thing is the congressional link between this crime syndicate and the fact that Mr. Fitch is a very powerful man in the Senate.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that must be a pretty big secret. It was enough to, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, how big of a secret does it need to be? It's not aliens.
No, but I think it's that government connection. I think if the public found out that the highest levels of government were corrupted, that there would be serious consequences, not just for the people going to jail, but maybe they believe that it would even hurt the country or go deeper.
National security,
all sorts of things that they just don't want to have out there. So
okay,
that's the one thing that keeps them from being able to kill Red, because they want him dead.
Yeah, they tortured him pretty bad enough to want him pretty dead.
Oh yeah.
But they know that as soon as he's obviously got plans in place that if something happens to him, this is what's going to happen. The media is pretty much going to get everything he owns.
Right. All right.
Okay, so number 25 is, can Audrey be trusted? Wrestler's ex-fiancé turns up at the hospital after the black site invasion to check on him. It could be innocent, but might she be somehow involved with the people keeping tabs on Red and the FBI? I don't know, that could be far-fetched.
Yeah, I think it was more the storyline that it kind of gets his family back. He was in a life-threatening situation. It wouldn't be uncommon for a fiance to come back and say, "Oh my God, I didn't know what life would be like without you." It's kind of that kind of Florence Nightingale kind of nurse syndrome. "Oh, I just want to take care of you," that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it could also lead up to, if they do something where Lizzie and Wrestler have some sort of feelings, it kind of gives a little triangle that they can play with, so.
Right. So, we've got number 26. We're getting towards the end here in the Nebraska interview. Another, Tom claims to have a job interview in Nebraska and flies out the next day, much to Lizzie's chagrin. Is the Nebraska story legit, or is this another hint that Tom isn't who he claims to be?
He's Yeah, I don't think it's legit. His story, Nebraska story. Because he was, like, gone, and then he's like, all of a sudden he came back. I don't know.
And he decided he wasn't going to do the interview so that if Lizzie calls and say, "Oh, did you interview Tom Keene?" they're going to go, "No." And he says, "Well, I told you. I decided not to take it because I want to come back and have our baby."
Oh.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's never happening. Okay, so number 27 was Newton the interviewer.
I think when he looked at that picture, he really said, "Oh my God, that's the guy." And so I really truly believe on that one that Newton was the interviewer. And of course, being the mole, I still don't necessarily think that takes Tom out of some sort of function. But I think that definitely Newton was the interviewer. And it wasn't on behalf of Red because we know that he was working against Red.
It seems like there's all these circles that are linked, all these organizations. It's like all checking on each other. They're all keeping tabs on each other.
It's a
big circle.
It is. I was just about to say that. I think they've really kind of weaved a very tight little web, and that's what makes this show so much fun.
Yeah, that was, being able to, that's what makes it crazy almost, everybody's trying to figure stuff out.
So, number 28, the governance of Mr. Fitch. So, this is what I was saying before. It turns out Mr. Fitch is a high-ranking government official.
Back to the big circle.
So, we knew Fitch is a high-ranking government official.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, part of Diane Fowler's
agenda.
That, of course, Diane Fowler's asset, even though Diane is the mole, that really she had kind of Red under her department. But the
gosh, does Red work for everybody? He's like the center of the universe.
It is, and
and all the circles come off of him.
It does. I guess that's why it's Red's show. So, why did Lucy Brooks apparently fake her death? Red looks at Lucy's obituary, which reads, Lucy Brooks was born in Dayton, Ohio, and died June 9th, 2013. He proceeds to send Lizzie on the trail of another blacklister, the Alchemist, to obtain a list of the people whose deaths he has faked, which seems to include Lucy. So why did Lucy fake her death and change her identity? And I think
so she could work for a secret organization. That would be my reason.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what we're going to find out. I don't think it's another family member. I think she's part of somebody that's coming up on the blacklist. So what about the number 30, the Lucy Brooks age discrepancy? Lucy
is recorded as being 30 years old in the VICAP database, but 28 in the obituaries column of the newspaper, born on September 22nd, 1985. Is this a discrepancy, or is it explained by the fact that she's some kind of undercover agent? Well, we think that. She's an undercover agent. She's working for some big agency that Red wants to find out who's in charge of.
Go right into 31, and our last unanswered question. What does Lucy Brooks want with Tom? Lucy looks over the case file on Tom and poses as a substitute teacher, Jolene, to get close to him. There's definite chemistry between them, though Lucy is clearly working an angle. So what does Lucy want with Lizzie's husband, or is Lizzie her real target? Is she some kind of agent, and who does she work for? And was she recruited out of VICAP? Well, obviously she's an agent because she's working on, the file subject Tom Keene. So we know, she's zeroed in on Tom. She's working the angle. She's trying to get him away from Lizzie. And that's one of the things that kind of got me to thinking, Tom's really trying to forge this relationship. If Tom's really a double agent and Lizzie is just kind of his cover, he's really gotten way too personally involved. So.
Yeah, because he truly cares for Lizzie, and he's upset about not being able to adopt a child, and her spending so much time at work and not coming home for dinner, and but then there's all the other questions about, is he doing jobs out of town? And so is Lucy trying to find out what agency he works for? Or is she, what would be the purpose of getting Tom away from Lizzie, except for that it would cement Lizzie more into Red's camp, doing what he needs her to do. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of the rest of the season. I think it's going to be a short-term one that's going to be answered. I think some of the earlier ones, they're the long-term, whether it's she's the daughter, it could go a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out how the Blacklist writers bring it full circle, and so that we get some. I'm sure they'll give us some answers for this season, and then roll us into another season. So I'm really excited about what's upcoming. I haven't, just watching, the new episode clips are pretty interesting. So I think it's gonna be a fun ride.
I think so. And I think this is kind of, like you said, taking us full circle. We've got 31 unanswered questions. I don't know that we're any farther than when we started.
No, I think so either. We just talked about a bunch of stuff that we can't resolve anything.
But I think it exposes the actual web that they're weaving. And if you really look, and you look, oh my God, the math in there, and
the
kind
scar.
of like the scars, the double angles, the double agents. It's really, for really half of a season of a show, we're really into a lot of details here.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of Fringe.
Yeah, I think
without the supernatural aspect of it.
I think that's a good analogy, and I think just for what they have set up here could take us, definitely in a couple more seasons just to answer these questions alone. Some of them are short term, some of them are very much long term.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they have in store for us, and how relationships are going to, come together, be torn apart, and finding out about Red's past.
Well, I think that does it for our Blacklist. Thanks to Seriable.com. Let's wrap this up. This has been the SMG Blacklist podcast, brought to you by the Southgate Media Group. Go to our website at southgatemediagroup.com, click on our banners, and like and review our shows on iTunes. And our Twitter address is
at Blacklist Pod.
Mine is at jwingrosky.
And mine is at MSMaxi.
And we'll see you on the list for next time.
See you then.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.